Hey, welcome to Impress the Boss. I'm Catherine.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Valerie.
And we're here to help you stand out without working overtime. This week, we're looking at Bobby Parton. And if you can't tell who that's a play on, then that's another problem. That's the tip for the day. Go figure out who the play of that is. So it's a
Do you mean Dolly Parton?
I mean Dolly Parton,
Oh,
Valerie. If you didn't catch the first episode of Bobby Parton, that is episode 9. And if you're wondering who all these Bobs are because you're just tuning into our show, go to episode 17 where you'll learn about who these workplace characters represent, how we came up with them, and their backstory. So Bobby Parton, I love this phrase. She's sweet as tea and nice as heck, but heels do not slow her down. And I think that really encapsulates what a Bobby Parton is. Like she's driven. She knows where she's going. She's got a strength within her, but she's kind and she's empathetic and she cares about the people around her. But she's also that perfectionist. She wants things done to the T. But that perfection is very positive sometimes. It also leads to success. I think, not that I know if Dolly Parton's a perfectionist or not, but she has achieved something in her life that requires a dedication and a focus that is very hard to achieve. And so I think that illustrates for our Bobby Parton what these types of workplace characters really represent, is that focus, that achievement, and really that drive forward. So we have another guest today who will share a little bit about being a Bobby Parton, and then we'll talk about a takeaway and how you can apply our lessons at work. So I'm really excited about this guest because we have 2 guests in this next batch of podcasts that really represent the nonprofit world, and one nonprofit specifically, Laurel, that you've been involved in that has a very important cause to it. So why don't you share a little bit about our next guest and about the nonprofit that she works with?
Absolutely. So our guest this time is Amy Marie Merrell. And for the last 8 years, Amy has been the director of the Cupcake Girls for Oregon. And she is incredibly passionate about that work and has been an amazing advocate for the women that the organization serves. In the 8 years that she's led it, it has grown to now hundreds of women every year that they are serving.
Fantastic.
And are continuously starting to get calls outside of the Portland metro area from women that are across the river into the state of Washington and that are down the I-5 corridor in southern parts of Oregon. And so just really starting to see just the expanding need that is there. She, for almost the entire time that she served with the Cupcake Girls, she also worked full-time with the advertising powerhouse Wyden and Kennedy as a business executive, or within the workplace with them, and just within the last year has gone away from that in order to help meet the growing needs of the Cupcake Girls and the women that are served through that. So as I said, she's just an absolute fierce advocate for the women in the Pacific Northwest that are served through the Cupcake Girls, specifically for a growing population of sex trafficking that's happening in that area in particular.
And the fact that she was able to work full time and grow this very important cause. I mean, that's a Bobby Parton right there.
Oh, yeah,
totally.
The
drive and the dedication to make that happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she made sacrifices in order for that to happen. So I love that one of the things we've talked about on a couple of different occasions is she models that passion and that energy so much in her whole life. And she's modeled it to her preschool age daughter so much that her little daughter Lexi has been known on multiple occasions to walk up to strangers on the street and ask them for donations for the Cupcake Girls and tell people that they need to support the Cupcake Girls. And people have given her money. Like,
who can refuse it?
I know. Adorable, right? But $100 bills. And it's so sweet. And that's all because of Amy modeling, just that passion, that advocacy. So we're very excited to have Amy Merrell as our guest in today's episode. So take a listen to this interview with her.
Hi, Amy. Welcome to the Impress the Boss show. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you as Bobby Parton today. So fun.
I'm excited too. And
Yeah.
I love Dolly Parton, so I was really excited that that's the Bob that I was.
Yes, we think so too. She is the belle of the ball, isn't she? Or the belle of the office. So just have a couple questions for you today as we think about Bobby Parton in the workplace. So the first one is, as a Bobby Parton, what is it that you would say is the biggest pitfall that other Bobby Partons should avoid within the workplace?
I think sometimes we have so much power and we go in so hard, and usually people are used to our charisma and they're used to us pulling everybody together, and so we can kind of catch people off guard when we get into our intense moments. And so I've learned to preface, hey guys, I'm putting on my serious hat now, before I start really deep diving into intense conversation, because I don't want to catch people off guard. I want to hear their feedback. And sometimes if you go too deeply too fast, people are so caught off guard they won't be able to actually give you feedback on the idea that you have or the intensity that you're feeling. And so giving everyone that space and that moment to remember who you are and that you can switch like that, has been really important to me. And I've been able to notice it in others as well when they end up going into their intense moments, saying, ooh, you switched on us there. Well, give us a moment so that we can think about what you just said. Because I think what you said is important, and I want to make sure that we give that value by taking a second thinking about it. Even though my brain is already ready to jump right in because I can switch to intense so quickly, everyone else in the room is not built the same way.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that. Good pitfall to avoid for sure. Good.
Yeah.
So, and on the flip side of that, what is one of the biggest strengths of Bobby Partons that other Bobby Partons should lean into and really be able to focus on and do a good job of leaning into?
Yeah. Bobby Partons can win over anyone. So something that I've realized, especially in both with in the advertising world, but also in the nonprofit world, there are a lot of humans that other humans just cannot get along with.
Yes.
And I am a chameleon, as are other Bobby Partons along with me, as I'm sure that you've realized within your coaching role. You can win over anyone. And it almost becomes this fun challenge where you take a second and you're like, wait. Yes, I'm feeling this, but we're going to bring them to our side. And not like not in a manipulative way, but because you just get so excited to love people and be loved by them. Yeah. And so I think that's a really big talent to have, especially when you're working with multiple coworkers or multiple bosses. Just having that having the time and space to remind yourself, okay, yes, they're saying this, and yes, they feel a little bit odd about me right now, but we're gonna win them over. Or when you're pitching something to your boss and they don't necessarily love it the first time, it may actually be your approach to whatever you were pitching because of your intensity. And so softening up and leaning into that piece so that people can truly appreciate the gifts that you have and the ideas that you have.
I love it. Yeah, so true. Thank you very much. So as our final question, what would be your number one tip for other Bobby Partons in the workplace?
So my number one tip for other Bobby Partons would be, when you're getting criticism, not to fall back and feel criticized, but to really lean into the feedback that you're given, because every single time people are giving you feedback, it can be surprising because you're not used to getting harsh feedback, especially. But that feedback is so important, and the people that are giving it to you, they're giving it to you because they really want you to be better. One of the main things that I've understood as I've been coming into myself as a leader and also as a coworker, is understanding that when I'm given feedback, it's people finally saying like to themselves, oh, she is so sweet, but if she would only know this about herself, she could be so much better. And once I realized like how hard it was for people to give that feedback to me because they like me, it made the feedback even more precious to me. And so I think that as Bobby-Partons, we can end up feeling hurt sometimes by feedback. And instead of seeing it as a personal thing, look at it as such a gift that they're giving you.
Yeah, definitely. You and I have had the conversation before about assuming positive intent, that it's just making sure that you're looking at what they're giving you and moving from that place of, okay, I believe they have my best interest in mind by giving me this feedback. So
exactly. Somebody's not automatically your enemy because they want you to be better, Amy Marie.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yes. So good. I love it. Well, thank you, Amy, our Bobby Parton, for giving us some good insights about Bobby Parton in the workplace. We appreciate it so much. Yes. Thank you.
Again, another fantastic interview. What can you say? Amy just represents Bobby Parton to a T. And I just love the fact that you can just tell just through this interview how driven she is and just the characteristics that Catherine and Laurel that you pointed out about a Bobby Parton at the beginning of this episode. And the takeaway that I take from Amy's interview is that yes, a Dolly Parton is driven, and with that drivenness is they can become very persuasive, and with that persuasive,ness, the takeaway that I get from Amy's interview about a Bobby Parton is that because they are so driven and so persuasive, that it sometimes it allows them the opportunity to step back to have people speak feedback into their lives. And just as she was mentioning in her interview, that when somebody does give her feedback, not to take it as a criticism, but for her to have that realization that when somebody is speaking something to her that needs to change, that she's recognizing that it's because they want her to become better. And why I emphasize that part from this interview is because I think with Bobby-Partons, is that because it's that their personalities are just so dynamic and so intense and so driven, and they're looking for people to work as hard as they do. And when people aren't living up to those expectations, then that's where their personality just kind of becomes more intensified, and maybe people are shying away from them or they take offense. And so when a Bobby Parton is able to just sit back and allow somebody to speak back into their lives, I think it only just brings more a dynamic of influence that they can have to realize that, hey, their personality is driven, it is persuasive, but at the same time, they have the ability to also listen to others and use that feedback to better themselves and to be more persuasive.
Well, and I think that what's really interesting about this idea of feedback, it's come up in 2 times this week in different conversations I've had, is I think in general, most people are open to feedback. I think that most people don't want to look foolish or don't want to come off, or if there's something that's really wrong about someone, I think we think we're open to it, but it's how we receive it and how we interpret it. And she said something about positive intent.
Yes.
It's interesting. I have worked with an individual in the past where he is so open to the feedback I give him. And we have this, he to me. And so we had this dynamic that's very, very open. And it just creates a culture where you're able to say, oh, can you please fix that? Oh, okay. You need me to fix something? Okay. And then that makes you improve. That improves how you're delivering your job at work. So I think if you can create that trust and that dynamic, I think it can serve both you and the other person well, being a Bobby Parton.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to hearing your feedback. So share your story. If you're a Bobby Parton, we'd love to hear your story. And if you work with Bobby-Partons, what are some tips to working with them as well? And then how do we share feedback at work? What are some good ways to go about that? Hashtag Impress the Boss. Also, don't forget to follow Amy on social media as well as the Cupcake Girls. Their cause, they're on Instagram, on at their website, Facebook, really to see what they're doing and what they're up to. They've grown and a really great mission and important investment into what's happening. So please check them out. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on social for your daily standout tips, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and don't forget to use the hashtag Impress the Boss and share your journey with us. And until next time, Bob's out.